Hello, my sensational students. Welcome to Bloom and Grow Education. My name is Meredith. Today's lesson is suitable for a Year 5 student who is applying for the Gifted and Talented test. It is a writing lesson, and it's one of those lessons when I give feedback on my students' work. We are looking at this stimulus here, Some Risks Are Worth It, and I'm going to read this girl's story. She's done a lovely job. There's lots of really beautiful descriptive writing in here, which I love. What we're going to do is look at how we can improve her conclusion, because it's a little bit of it's a very well-written story, but the idea is a bit average, and we can fix it with fixing the conclusion. So let's get into reading the story, and let's look at how we can improve on the idea. I swam gracefully, enjoying the summer's warmth rise up my body. I saw my dear siblings glide in schools delicately. The world around me was full of joy. All I could feel were the rays of sunshine boiling the water. I was curious. It had been 18 years since I became a roe. A roe was a baby fish. 18 years, my elegant ancestors all got to celebrate by rising to the surface for the first time, but none ever returned. I wanted to crack this mystery. I pushed my majestic body up to the surface. All I could see was the sky, clouds turning grey by the minute. Everything seemed different. The world around me was full of sorrow. The tall, bellowing trees sloped down warily, but what really grabbed my attention were the big ships. Dread filled me as a line pulled me up. I struggled down with all my force. The despair to go back down did not decrease. To my deep dismay, I was pulled up and lowered into a white bucket. I jumped and leapt with all my might. Then I felt the bucket knocked down, but again trouble faced me. A crocodile was only inches away. I could see all the razor-sharp teeth with big blue eyes. I zoomed underneath the surface with such force that the waves and ripples formed around me. My underwater home was my safety, and it was all I needed. I felt a wonderful tingle of magenta soak my scales. I was reunited with my real home. I didn't need the world above. This would always be my one and only perfect place. So let's look at what she's done really well. Beautiful description in here. The world around me was full of joy. The rays of sunshine were boiling the water. Maybe not boiling, maybe because if you're a fish in boiling water, that would be a bad thing. But maybe a synonym for warming. I like that she knows the word roe, my elegant ancestors. So this idea here that's established here, I want to take a crack at this mystery. And then coming into here with this these problems. So it's there's a fishing line that's going to kill her, there's a bucket that's going to kill her, there's a crocodile that's going to kill her. This would have been a really, really great place for that panic vocabulary to come in. So if you check out the description box below, you will see a link to a panic lesson where I talk about how you can improve your writing through show, don't tell with the emotional response you have to panic. So that would have been some really great stuff to put into here. The areas that I would really like to improve on is the conclusion. So the story is a little bit average. It's remembering that if you are trying to get into the Gifted and Talented program, you are demonstrating that you are academically gifted, that you're in the top 3% of all the other students in Western Australia, or the other Year 6s, and that you can think critically and creatively than everybody else, that you can think more uniquely than everybody else. And this story doesn't demonstrate that. And one of the ways we could have improved it is by doing a sadly ever after. So when I read this line here, I felt a wonderful tingle of magenta soak my scales. What I thought that meant was that it was blood. I thought the magenta soaking the scales was the blood. So from there, you would go into a sadly ever after, and the fish dies. So how might that look? Okay, that's pretty much got us up to the same point as what she just wrote. I crashed back to the safety of the water, then noticed a stream of magenta soaking my scales. The trail followed me ominously as I raced down further into the depths of the ocean, away from the terrifying ships and hooks and monsters. But I soon grew weak, my blood dissipating into the dark depths of the deep. So what I like there is the alliteration, dissipating into the dark depths of the deep. Now, I've said depths up here. Now, because I like the alliteration down here, I'm going to change this one up here because I don't want depth and depth too close to each other. As I race down further into the abyss of the ocean, and I realized as I was weakly taken away by a current that this was why my ancestors never returned. So if you remember back at the beginning of the story, back in the second paragraph, she said that my elegant ancestors all got to celebrate by rising to the surface for the first time, but none ever returned. I wanted to crack this mystery, so it ties it all neatly together by finally cracking that mystery. This was why my ancestors never returned. And then pulling it back, tying it back to the stimulus, some risks are not worth it. That would be better. This is why my ancestors never returned. I thought of the risk I took by determination to crack that mystery, which reminds the reader of what was said back up in that second paragraph, because sometimes by the time you've read something, you've forgotten what's happened at the beginning. So it just helps to sort of clue that reader in again about what they were talking about up the top there. So I thought of the risk I took in my determination to crack it, realize as the final blackness came over me, some risks are not worth it. So that just flows a little bit better with reminding about the risk you took in the mystery and then tying it back into some risks are not worth it. So that would give us a sadly ever after ending, which just makes things a little bit more unique than and they lived happily ever after typical ending. Okay. So, and it also shows you how you can tie back your ideas to things that you introduced earlier on in your story. So you've got a nice circle of completeness within your ideas. And it also shows you how you can hook back to the original stimulus. Okay, that brings me to the end of the lesson. Thank you so much for joining me. Please make sure you go and check out the other lessons in this series. Some risks are worth it. Please like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel. It really helps me out. And I look forward to seeing you at the next lesson.